Welcome, everyone, to TechDaily.ai. This deep dive is sponsored by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup disaster recovery, hyper-converged VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, SA365, a turnkey security appliance, public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com for more info. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something, well, absolutely foundational for any organization navigating the digital world: identity and access management in the cloud.
IAM.
Exactly, IAM. We're talking about, not just technical jargon. It's the digital gatekeeper. It decides who gets into your cloud environment, where they can go, and what they can actually do once they're inside. The stakes, they couldn't be higher.
You're absolutely right. Historically, security was kind of about drawing a clear line, a definitive perimeter around your network.
Right, the old castle and moat idea.
Precisely. But the cloud has fundamentally changed that. Your data, your applications, they're now dispersed across various platforms, accessible from anywhere, really, on any device.
So that perimeter just vanished.
It pretty much did. This creates what you could call an identity sprawl, significantly increasing your attack surface and, well, opening up potential blind spots.
Yeah.
That's precisely why identity and access management isn't just a component of security. It's the very foundation.
The core of it all.
It is. It's about ensuring that the right individuals and services have the appropriate access to the right resources at the right time and, crucially, for the right reasons.
Okay, so our mission today is to cut through that complexity and give you, the listener, a powerful shortcut to being well-informed on this vital topic. We're going to zero in on why IAM is more critical than ever in the cloud. Unearth some maybe counterintuitive best practices, reveal the biggest hidden challenges, and even peek into what the future holds for keeping our digital identities truly safe.
Sounds like a plan.
So given this new perimeter-less reality you just described, where do organizations consistently struggle with IAM in the cloud? Even when they, think they're doing everything right.
Yeah, it often boils down to a fundamental shift in mindset, I think. Many still approach cloud security with an on-premises perspective. They're asking, how do I secure my network? Instead of how do I secure every single identity that interacts with my resources? The complexity isn't just the sheer volume of users anymore. It's managing access for applications, services, APIs, even IoT devices. Each one is a potential entry point.
Right. Everything needs an identity now.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so IAM in the cloud is crucial not just for security, preventing unauthorized access to sensitive data, but also for operational efficiency, streamlining onboarding, offboarding.
Makes sense.
For regulatory compliance, think GDPR, PCI DSS for payment data, IPA for healthcare info.
All the big ones.
Exactly. And of course for scalability, allowing organizations to grow rapidly without compromising their security posture. It's essential.
That makes a lot of sense. So as we peel back the layers here, what are maybe the few non-negotiable concepts that, if a listener truly grasps them, will fundamentally change how they approach cloud IAM?
Okay, good question. Beyond the basic definitions that, many listeners will probably already be familiar with, there are some critical concepts whose implications are often overlooked in a cloud context.
Okay.
First, there's the principle of least privilege. Now, this isn't just a buzzword. It's a whole security philosophy.
Yeah.
Grant users, applications, services only the absolute minimum permissions they need.
Just enough to do their job, nothing more.
Precisely. Think of it like a valet parking your car. You give them the key to the car, not the keys to your entire house. This drastically shrinks your attack surface.
Right. Limits the damage if something goes wrong.
Exactly. Then there's just-in-time access. This takes least privilege, kind of a step further. You grant permissions for only a limited, time-bound period, just when they're actually needed.
So temporary access.
Temporary expiring access. No lingering overprivileged accounts. If an admin needs to make a change, maybe they get elevated access for 30 minutes and then boom, it's automatically revoked. It's a huge shift from static, permanent permissions.
I can see how that reduces risk significantly.
Hugely. We also need to talk about multi-factor authentication, MFA. Most people know MFA is crucial, but the real insight today, I think, is the shift towards phishing-resistant MFA.
Okay, what does that mean practically?
It means relying on things like SMS codes or, voice calls is simply no longer enough. They're too easily intercepted or phished.
Right.
Methods like FIDO2 security keys, the little USB things, or biometrics integrated with your device, like Windows. Hello, they're the gold standard now. They make it vastly harder for attackers to steal that second factor.
Gotcha. Much harder to spoof.
Much harder. Finally, understanding identity providers, IDPs, in identity as a service, IDEAs, is key. An IDP is basically a trusted system that manages digital identities, often provides single sign-on, SSO.
Log in once, access everything.
Exactly. And IDEA solutions offer these IAM features as a cloud-based service, which takes the operational burden off internal IT teams. They are, frankly, essential for centralized management in today's distributed environments.
It sounds like a constant dance, doesn't it? Between granting necessary access and locking everything down tightly.
It really is.
And speaking of locking things down, the cloud isn't just one monolithic entity. You mentioned different providers. How does this concept of responsibility play out? Is it simply the cloud provider's job to keep us secure?
That's a vital question. It brings us straight to the shared responsibility model. This is absolutely core to cloud security.
Okay.
Think of it like building a house. The cloud providers, say AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they're responsible for the foundation and the structure of the house. They secure the underlying infrastructure, the physical data centers, the network hardware, the virtualization layer.
Security of the cloud.
Exactly, security of the cloud. But you, the customer, you're responsible for what you put inside the house, your data, your applications, and critically, who you give the keys to.
It's security in the cloud.
Precisely. That includes managing user identities and access permissions. If you leave your digital front door wide open with weak passwords or overly broad permissions, well, that's on you, not the cloud provider.
So it's a true partnership, and you are absolutely responsible for those digital keys.
Mm-hmm.
How do these IAM principles then manifest across the major players?
Well,
AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, are they all doing the same thing, just with different names?
Well, yes and no. While the core principles like least privilege, MFA, they're universal, each major cloud provider has its own robust IAM framework, specifically designed for its ecosystem. They have their own nuances.
Right.
For instance, you've got AWS Identity and Access Management, their IAM solution, which offers centralized control for all AWS resources. Then there's Azure Active Directory or Azure AD. It's a huge cloud-based identity and access control service. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, even provides secure configuration baselines for it, especially for government agencies.
That's significant.
It is. And Google Cloud IAM provides a highly integrated, very granular way to manage access across all its services.
Okay, so similar goals, different implementations.
Right. And to truly understand how that shared responsibility model translates into action, maybe let's use Google Cloud IAM as an example. Its structure illustrates these universal concepts really clearly.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, so in Google Cloud, you're dealing with a hierarchy. At the top, you have principals. These are the who.
Users, groups.
Exactly. Individual users, groups of users, or even service accounts. And these are crucial. They allow applications to authenticate and access resources without needing a human involved.
Right, for automation.
For automation, scripts, background processes. Then there are resources, this could be a virtual machine instance, a storage bucket, a database, anything you want to access or manage.
The things you're protecting.
The things you're protecting. And these resources, they're organized hierarchically, from your entire organization at the top, down through folders, then projects, and finally, individual resources.
Okay, like a tree structure.
Pretty much. Then you have permissions. These define the specific actions a principal can perform on a resource, like compute.instances.start to start a VM. But permissions aren't usually assigned directly.
They're bundled.
Exactly. They're bundled into roles. And finally, IAM policies are the rules that bind those principals to those roles, defining who can do what to which resources.
Okay.
And here's the fascinating part. These policies inherit down the hierarchy. A role granted at a higher level, like the organization level, automatically applies to all child resources within it unless you specifically override it further down.
Okay, so setting policy at the top can have wide-ranging effects.
Absolutely, which can be powerful, but also needs careful handling.
That concept of roles and inheritance is definitely intriguing. You mentioned roles are collections of permissions. What are the different types of roles we might encounter? And maybe more importantly, what should we watch out for?
Yeah, this is absolutely where organizations often trip up, especially early on. In Google Cloud, for example, you typically work with three main types.
Okay.
First, you have the basic roles. These are owner, editor, and viewer. They sound simple, right?
Yeah, straightforward.
But they provide extremely broad access to basically all resources within a project. The critical insight here is that they are almost always overly permissive. They're a huge security risk in most scenarios.
So avoid them in production.
Absolutely. Not recommended for production environments where you need strict access control. Using them is like, giving someone the keys to the entire building just so they can access one specific office. It's too much power.
Right. Too blunt an instrument.
Exactly. Then you have predefined roles. These are curated by the cloud provider Google, in this case, to offer much more granular service-specific permissions. They're aligned with particular services and use cases like compute instance admin or storage object viewer.
More targeted.
Much more targeted. They do a much better job of supporting that principle of least privilege we talked about. These are generally the preferred choice for most day-to-day operations.
Makes sense.
And finally, you have custom roles. These offer maximum flexibility. They let you define roles precisely tailored to your specific operational needs or security requirements. You can handpick individual permissions.
Total control.
Total control. They're incredibly powerful for fine-grained access, but the downside. They require careful design and ongoing maintenance. It's easy to create too many, make them too complex, and end up with administrative overhead if you're not managing them effectively.
So a balance is needed.
Definitely a balance.
So we're talking about this granular hierarchical approach. You can't
Yes.
just slap a blanket policy on everything. Thinking about that hierarchy, where do organizations get the most sort of bang for their buck when applying these IAM policies across their cloud environment?
Right. It's about strategic application. You can apply IAM policies at various levels within that hierarchy we discussed. You've got organization-level policies. These set really broad controls that apply to everything within your entire organization. Best practice here is, honestly, use them very sparingly, only for roles that genuinely need global visibility or control, like maybe a central security auditing team or billing administrators.
Keep it minimal at the top.
Keep it minimal. Then you have folder-level policies. Folders are used to group projects, maybe by department or environment, like production versus development. Policies here provide a useful middle ground. They let you streamline access management for logical groups without granting unnecessary org-wide permissions.
A good intermediate step.
Yeah. Then project-level policies are probably the most common and often the sweet spot for day-to-day management. This is where you typically grant specific teams the access they need for their applications within a particular project boundary. You really want to restrict roles to the minimum necessary here.
That's where most of the action happens.
That's where a lot of the specific permissions granting happens, yes. And finally, for your most sensitive assets, you can apply resource-level policies directly to individual resources, like one specific critical storage bucket or a particular database.
Super granular.
Super granular. It offers the most fine-grained control, but you have to be careful. It can definitely increase administrative overhead if you start applying policies to thousands of individual resources everywhere. So again, it's about balance and using it strategically for high-value targets.
That's a fantastic overview of the landscape. Okay, let's really unpack this now. We understand the principles, the shared responsibility, the different layers. But what are the concrete, actionable steps that you, our listeners, should be taking right now to really strengthen your IAM security posture? Beyond the basics, what are the truly impactful strategies people might be missing?
Okay, this is where the rubber really meets the road. And while many best practices are, well known, it's often the nuance in their implementation that makes all the difference.
Right. The details matter.
They really do. First, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I can't stress this enough, relentlessly enforce the principle of least privilege. This isn't just about reducing risk. It significantly limits the blast radius if an account does get compromised.
How bad the damage can be.
Exactly. The practical challenge, though, is actually figuring out the minimum required permissions for every single user and every single service. It's a continuous process, not a one-time setup, and it requires deep understanding of your applications and workflows.
It's hard work.
It is. Secondly, when it comes to authentication, think beyond just enabling MFA. The key is to prioritize phishing-resistant MFA methods.
Like those FIDO keys you mentioned.
Exactly. FIDO2 security keys, Windows Hello for Business, maybe certificate-based authentication. These are far, far superior to SMS or voice OTPs, which are increasingly vulnerable. In fact, CISA explicitly recommends disabling those weaker MFA methods.
Get rid of them if you can.
Get rid of them. And here's a surprising one that goes against old habits. Current guidance from NIST and OMB actually states that mandated periodic password changes make accounts less secure.
Really? Why is that?
Because users tend to pick simpler, predictable patterns when forced to change frequently, like password spring 24, password summer 24. You get the idea.
Yeah, okay. Easy to guess.
Right. So the current guidance is user passwords should not expire. Instead, focus on strong initial complexity, maybe length requirements, checking against breached password lists, and crucially, strong MFA.
Interesting shift.
It is. Another critical strategy often overlooked is securing highly privileged user access. These are your keys to the kingdom accounts, global admins, domain admins.
The super users.
The super users. Yeah. Limit the number of these accounts to an absolute bare minimum. Think 2 to 8, maybe at most. And ideally, these should be cloud-only accounts, completely separate from your on-premises directories.
Why separate?
To reduce the risk from an on-premises compromise spreading to your cloud admin accounts. If your on-prem Active Directory gets hit, you don't want the attackers instantly having God mode in your cloud too.
Makes sense. Defense in depth.
Exactly. And crucially, don't allow permanent active assignments for these high-privilege roles, except maybe for dedicated break-glass emergency accounts. Instead, use a privileged access management PM system.
Like just in time, but specifically for admins.
Precisely. A PAM system requires approval for activation, it's time-bound, it logs everything, and it triggers immediate alerts when someone elevates their privileges.
Visibility and control.
Visibility and control. Also, remember that not all identities are human. Managing identities for non-human entities, your applications, your services, your APIs is becoming just as critical. These service accounts need their own least privilege rules and secure credential management, like rotating keys or using managed identities where possible.
Don't forget the bots.
Don't forget the bots. Finally, automate, automate, automate. Leverage infrastructure as code, IAC, tools like Terraform or CloudFormation to provision and manage your IAM policies.
Define it in code.
Define it in code. This ensures consistency, reduces manual errors, makes changes repeatable and auditable. Integrate security policy checks directly into your CI/CD pipelines, and ensure you're continuously monitoring and auditing IAM activity. Comprehensive audit logs are your eyes and ears. You need to know who did what, when. CISA, for instance, strongly recommends sending specific security logs like audit logs and SIGINT logs to your Security Operations Center, your SOC, for real-time monitoring and incident response.
Wow, that paints a picture of intense pressure, requiring both strategic foresight and really meticulous execution.
It sounds complex. Why is it so hard, practically speaking, to get IAM right in the cloud? What are the real-world struggles organizations are facing day to day?
It truly is hard. And one of the biggest challenges, this might surprise you, is simply managing identities across multiple cloud environments. It's the reality for most businesses now.
The multi-cloud reality. Exactly. A staggering 75% of organizations today manage 2 or more identity providers, and 11% are juggling 5 or more. Imagine trying to maintain a single source of truth, consistent policies, visibility across all those disparate systems. It's an identity sprawl nightmare.
Chaos.
Potential chaos, yes. Another often underestimated hurdle is integration with legacy systems and on-premise applications. We're not just dealing with shiny new cloud-native apps, right?
No, there's always older stuff hanging around.
Always. And over half of organizations report significant difficulty onboarding these older, sometimes non-standard, applications to a modern cloud identity provider like Azure AD. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, technologically speaking. This incompatibility can be a major barrier to deploying advanced authentication like passwordless or phishing-resistant MFA everywhere.
So legacy tech holds back security improvements.
It often does. And then there's just the sheer pace of the evolving threat landscape. Credential harvesting, credential stuffing attacks, they remain persistent and increasingly sophisticated threats. Organizations need real-time security intelligence and adaptive responses, but many lack deep visibility into what users are actually doing within their IAM environments.
A visibility gap.
Exactly. A full 40% of organizations report inadequate visibility. And improving identity analytics is a top priority for over half of organizations looking ahead to 2025. It's incredibly hard to defend what you fundamentally can't see.
That last point about visibility really resonates. It feels like you're constantly playing catch-up against unseen threats. How does the Zero Trust security model fit into all of this, given these immense challenges? Is it some kind of silver bullet?
Yeah, zero trust gets talked about a lot. It's definitely not a silver bullet. There's no single product you buy called zero trust. It's more of a strategic framework of a philosophy. And it operates on that core principle of never trust, always verify. Every single access request, regardless of whether it originates from inside or outside your traditional network perimeter, is treated as potentially malicious until it's explicitly verified.
No more trusted internal network.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
The old assumptions are gone. And a robust cloud IAM strategy is absolutely crucial for actually implementing zero trust effectively, because IAM provides that accurate, fine-grained access control using principles like role-based access control we discussed.
The foundation for verification.
Exactly. It also significantly reduces risks from compromised credentials by enforcing those strong authentication policies and multi-factor authentication. What's truly powerful, though, is how a modern cloud IAM solution can intelligently enforce zero trust principles.
How so?
By considering contextual factors in real time. Things like, the user's identity, the health, their posture of their device, their geographic location, even their recent behavioral patterns.
Like, is this login typical for this user?
Precisely. Based on all that context, the IAM system can decide whether to grant access, require step-up authentication like another MFA challenge, or even deny access altogether. It's dynamic and adaptive, not static.
So IAM is the engine driving zero trust decision.
That's a core engine, absolutely.
It really does sound like a constant evolution, always adapting. What exciting trends are on the horizon for IAM then? Where are we headed next in this space?
Oh, the future of IAM is incredibly dynamic, yeah. We're seeing a really powerful surge in passwordless authentication becoming the standard, not the exception.
Moving beyond passwords entirely.
Moving beyond them. Expect biometrics, fingerprints, facial recognition, token-based access using things like FIDO keys, and even more advanced MSA methods to really dominate. It's not just for convenience, it's about significantly enhancing security by removing that weakest link, the password itself.
Makes sense. What else?
Then there's the increasing use of AI and machine learning in IAM. This is huge. AI can analyze vast amounts of login data and behavioral patterns to identify anomalies like access from an unfamiliar location at an odd hour, or someone trying to access resources they never touched.
Spotting the unusual.
Exactly. And it can automatically trigger responses, like requiring additional authentication, notifying security teams, or even blocking the access attempt. It's shifting security from being reactive to being more proactive and predictive.
Getting ahead of the attackers.
Hopefully. We're also seeing a significant move towards attribute-based access control, ABAC. This gets even more granular than traditional roles.
How does ABAC work?
It allows access policies to grant permissions only if very specific conditions or attributes are met. These attributes could be about the user, like your department or security clearance, the resource, like its data sensitivity tag, the environment, like the time of day or location, or the action itself.
So much more context aware.
Much more context-aware and dynamic than just assigning static roles. It allows for really fine-tuned policies. Finally, as organizations inevitably continue to embrace multi-cloud strategies, IAM systems themselves are evolving towards greater interoperability and centralized governance.
Managing across clouds seamlessly.
That's the goal. Federated identity providers that can bridge different systems, and holistic IAM platforms that provide a single pane of glass for visibility and control across AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, maybe even on-prem systems. These will become increasingly vital. The aim is to manage all identities consistently, no matter where the resources live.
What an incredible deep dive into the world of cloud IAM. It's crystal clear this isn't a one-time setup project, is it? It's a continuous dynamic process that absolutely has to evolve with your infrastructure and, unfortunately, the ever-changing threat landscape.
Exactly. A well-designed identity and access management framework thinking about that role hierarchy, least privilege, strong authentication, continuous monitoring. Using automation, it minimizes risk, it improves maintainability, and it aligns perfectly with both your business needs and your security objectives. Investing time and resources in getting IAM right today, well, it will undoubtedly pay long-term dividends in terms of security, compliance, and even operational efficiency. It really is the foundation of your digital trust.
Absolutely. So for you, our listener, here's maybe a final provocative thought to mull over. In this world where your digital front door is, frankly, everywhere at once, how will you adapt your approach? How will you ensure that only the truly authorized identities have access to your most critical resources? Are you actively building that modern digital trust foundation, or are you perhaps still relying on some outdated locks from the old perimeter days? That's all the time we have for this deep dive into cloud identity and access management. A big thank you again to our sponsor, Stonefly, for making this possible. Remember to check out Stonefly for their 100 TB immutable and air-gap SSO NAS for just $8,995. You can find more information at stonefly.com.
Great stuff.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.